Hello, students, and welcome back to Kinesiology 120 Concepts of Wellness. Tonight, we're going to talk about theories and models of behavior, what motivates us, why we do things. We're going to find out a little bit more how the human body and the human mind work together as one. Motivation is defined as the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. Motivation is what causes us to act, whether it is getting a glass of water to reduce our thirst or reading a book to gain knowledge. It involves the biological, emotional, social, and cognitive forces that activate behavior. The term motivation refers to factors that activate, direct, and sustain goal-oriented behavior. Motives are the whys of behavior, the needs or wants that drive behavior and explain what we do. Two types of motivation. Intrinsic. It's personal, internal. When you're intrinsically motivated, your behavior is motivated by your internal desire to do something for its own sake. For example, your personal enjoyment of an activity or your desire to learn a skill because you're eager to learn. Reading a book because you enjoy the storytelling. Exercising because you want to relieve stress. Cleaning your home because it helps you feel organized. That's what you feel on the inside. It makes you feel good, makes you feel satisfied. It's an intrinsic value. Extrinsic motivation. When you're extrinsically motivated, your behavior is stimulated by an external factor, pushing you to do something with the goal of earning a reward or avoiding a less than positive outcome. Examples: reading a book to prepare for a test. Exercising to lose weight. You're exercising, losing the weight is the reward. Cleaning your home to prepare for visitors coming over. Cleaning your house, organizing things shows your visitors that have come over that you're organized and prepared, and that makes you feel good extrinsically. Reinforcement. The most effective way to teach a person or animal a new behavior is with positive reinforcement. In positive reinforcement, a desirable stimulus is added to increase a behavior. For example, you ask your 5-year-old son, Jeremy, that if he cleans his room, he will get a toy. Jeremy quickly cleans his room because he wants a new art set. Let's pause for a moment. Some people might say, why should I reward my child for doing something that should be expected? But in fact, we are constantly and consistently we're being rewarded in our own lives. Our paychecks are rewards. High grades and acceptance by your friends and peers is reward. Being praised for doing a good job and for passing a driver's test is also a reward for positive reinforcement. Punishment. Many people confuse negative reinforcement with punishment in operant conditioning, but they are two very different mechanisms. Remember that reinforcement, even when it's negative, always increases a behavior. In contrast, punishment always decreases a behavior. In positive punishment, you add an undesirable stimulus to decrease a behavior. An example of positive punishment is reprimanding a student that is texting in class. In this case, a stimulus, the reprimand, is added in order to decrease the behavior, the texting in class. In negative punishment, you remove a pleasant stimulus to decrease a behavior. For example, when a child misbehaves, a parent can take away a favorite toy. In this case, a stimulus, the toy, is removed in order to decrease the behavior. In positive reinforcement, you're providing a reward, causing a person to repeat the behavior. Negative reinforcement, you're removing a penalty or undesired activity to get the behavior that you desire. Punishment. Positive punishment signs something unwanted to discourage an undesirable behavior. The reprimand, and you're trying to get rid of texting in class. Negative, taking away the toy in hope of avoiding an unwanted behavior if the child doesn't throw a fit. Self-determination theory suggests that people are motivated to grow and change by 3 innate and universal psychological needs. This theory suggests that people can become self-determined when their needs for competence, connection, and autonomy are fulfilled. The concept of intrinsic motivation, or engaging in activities for the inherent rewards of the behavior itself, plays an important role in self-determination theory. 2 key assumptions of the theory. The need for growth drives behavior. The first assumption of self-determination theory is that people are actively directed towards growth. Gaining mastery over challenges and taking in new experiences are essential for developing a cohesive sense of self. The second assumption, autonomous motivation, is important. While people are often motivated to act by external rewards such as money, prizes, and acclaim, self-determination theory focuses primarily on internal sources of motivation such as a need to gain knowledge or independence. According to self-determination theory, people need to feel the following in order to achieve psychological growth. Competence, a mastery of skills. People need to gain mastery of tasks and learn different skills. When people feel that they have the skills needed for success, they are more likely to take actions that will help them achieve their goals. Connection or relatedness. People need to experience a sense of belonging and attachment to other people. Autonomy. People need to feel in control of their own behaviors and goals. This sense of being able to take direct action that will result in real change plays a major part in helping people feel self-determined. Imagine a person who fails to complete an important project at work. If this person is high in self-determination, they will admit their fault, believe that they can do something to fix the problem, and take action to correct the mistake. Now, if that same person was low in self-determination, they might instead look for other things or people that they can blame. They might make excuses, assign blame, or refuse to admit that their own role had a part in the failure. Most importantly, perhaps, is that the person won't feel motivated to fix the mistake if they have low self-determination. Instead, they might feel helpless to control the situation and believe that nothing that they do will have any real effect. Theory of reasoned action. This looks at behavioral intentions rather than attitudes as the main predictors of behavior. According to this theory, attitudes toward a behavior, or more precisely, attitudes toward the expected outcome or result of the behavior, and subjective norms, the influence other people have on persons' attitudes and behavior, are the major predictors of behavioral intention. People are more likely to change a behavior when they perceive positive outcomes from that change. TRA works most successfully when applied to behaviors that are under a person's voluntary control. The health education implications of this theory allow a person to identify how and where to target strategies for changing behavior. Prevention of sexually transmitted diseases and health fitness behaviors are 2 examples where this theory comes into play. Theory of planned behavior was derived from the theory of reasoned action. The theory predicts an individual's intention to engage in a behavior at a specific time and place. The theory was intended to explain all behaviors over which people can exert self-control. The key component to this model is behavioral intent. Behavioral intentions are influenced by the attitude about the likelihood that the behavior will have the expected outcome and the subjective evaluation of the risks and benefits of that outcome. The theory of planned behavior has been used successfully to predict and explain a wide range of health behaviors and intentions, including smoking, drinking, health services utilization, breastfeeding, and substance abuse, among others. The theory states that behavioral achievement depends on both motivation or intention and ability or behavioral control. It distinguishes between three types of beliefs: behavioral, normative, and control. The theory is comprised of 6 components that collectively represent a person's actual control over the behavior. Number 1 is attitudes. This refers to the degree to which a person has a favorable or unfavorable evaluation of the behavior of interest. It entails a consideration of the outcomes of performing the behavior. Behavioral intention. This refers to the motivational factors that influence a given behavior, where the stronger the intention to perform the behavior, the more likely the behavior will be performed. Number 3, subjective norms. This refers to the belief about whether most people approve or disapprove of that behavior. It relates to a person's beliefs about whether peers and people of importance to the person think he or she should engage in that behavior. Social norms. Number 4, this refers to the customary codes of behavior in a group or people or larger cultural context. Social norms are considered normative or standard in a group of people. Number 5, perceived power. This refers to the perceived presence of factors that may facilitate or impede performance of a behavior. Perceived power contributes to a person's perceived behavioral control over each of those factors. Number 6, perceived behavioral control. Now, this refers to a person's perception of the ease or difficulty of performing the behavior of interest. Perceived behavioral control varies across situations and actions, which results in a person having varying perceptions of behavioral control depending on that situation. This construct of theory was added later and created the shift from the theory of reasoned action to the theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior. People who believe they can control their own environment and behavior are more likely to change it. Trans-theoretical theory. Okay, now this model for change proposes that people transition through defined stages in the process of altering problematic behavior patterns. The stages are as defined. Pre-contemplation, where no problem is acknowledged and there is no consideration given towards change. Contemplation, where a problem is acknowledged and serious thought is given to change their future. Preparation, where some behavioral contact or change is initiated. Number 4, action, where substantial behavioral efforts lead to alteration of the previous pattern, and maintenance, where change is sustained through continued effort. And maintenance, where the change is sustained through continued effort. Now, pre-contemplation. At this stage, the person is not even thinking about the behavior change. The person may be unaware of the need for a change, or the person may be in denial. He or she has not personally considered making the change in a lifestyle or behavior. For example, smoking. Okay, they don't even know that they have a problem, so there's no thought process right now to think that they need to stop, that it is a problem. There's no motivation right now in the pre-contemplation to quit, since the person never seriously entertained the thought. Contemplation. Once a person reaches contemplation, he or she begins to seriously consider the pros and cons associated with the change. The person may do some research and may learn about the aspects of the behavioral change. The individual may ask certain questions and read some books about successful quitting techniques. Now, eventually, the person considers making the change. Many smokers are in this stage because they hear about the health hazards and the negative results associated with smoking, and they begin to wonder whether they should try quitting. They don't have any set plans to quit, but they consider what their life might be if they were to quit. Preparation. At this stage, the person begins to make plans and prepares for the necessary change. Most of this is mental and psychological preparation, but there may be some lifestyle changes that also take place as the person begins to prepare for action. For smokers, this may involve a mental preparation of quitting. They may plan by setting a quit date and marking it on the calendar. They may also tell others about their quit dates so that they have some accountability from their loved ones and friends. Action. This is where the individual implements the change in behavior. The quit date arrives and the smoker stops smoking. If this action stage occurs and the behavior change isn't maintained, then people fall back into the previous stage. Some people give up while others get motivated to prepare and plan for another quit date. Others can maintain their behavior change for a while, but then they may relapse and go through the stages of change again. Maintenance. This is where one maintains the changed behavior and incorporates the new behavior as the way of life. Some people do not include the stage as a stage of change, since at this point the person has already made the effort and the change. However, since people often revert to original behaviors, this maintenance stage is a necessary step for many. Most smokers who quit for the first time relapse at some point. Hence, it often takes many efforts to get smokers to quit permanently. People will engage in a health-related behavior change if they have an interest in health-related matters. That's their health motivation. 2, they think that they're susceptible to illness. There's perceived vulnerability. They see that they may be susceptible to an illness. They think the benefits outweigh the barriers, perceived benefits. Your life, a healthy lifestyle, you feel better, you look better, you perform better. Number 4, they think a particular habit could be hard to change, perceived barriers. Sometimes that will curtail whether or not you're going to make a change. The health belief model is a tool that scientists use to try and predict health behaviors. It was originally developed in the 50s and updated in the 80s. The model is based on the theory that a person's willingness to change their health behaviors is primarily due to the following factors. Perceived susceptibility. People will not change their health behaviors unless they believe that they are at risk. Example, those who do not think that they are at risk for acquiring HIV from unprotected intercourse are unlikely to use a condom. Young people who don't think they're at risk for lung cancer are unlikely to stop smoking. Perceived severity. The probability that a person will change his or her health behaviors to avoid a consequence depends on how serious he or she considers the consequence to be. Example, if you are young and in love, you are unlikely to avoid kissing your sweetheart on the mouth just because he has the sniffles, and you might get his cold. Now, on the other hand, you probably would stop kissing him if you thought that he had the coronavirus. Similarly, people are less likely to consider condoms when they think STDs are a minor inconvenience. That's why we talk about safe sex increased during the AIDS epidemic. That perceived severity increased enormously. Another factor is perceived benefits. It's difficult to convince people to change a behavior if there isn't something in it for them. People don't want to give up something they enjoy if they don't also get something in return. Example, your father probably won't stop smoking if he doesn't think that doing so will improve his quality of life in any way. Perceived barriers. One of the major reasons people don't change their health behaviors is that they think that doing so is going to be difficult. Sometimes it's not just a matter of physical difficulty, but social difficulty as well. Changing your health behaviors can cost effort, money, and time. Example, if everyone from your office goes out drinking on Friday afternoon, it may be very difficult to cut down on your alcohol intake. If you think that condoms are a sign of distrust in a relationship, you may be hesitant to bring them up. One of the best things about the health belief model is how realistically it frames people's behaviors. It recognizes the fact that sometimes wanting to change a health behavior is not enough to make someone do it. Therefore, it incorporates two more elements into the estimations about what it takes to get an individual to make the change. These two elements are cues to action and self-efficacy. Consider making the change to help you in the physical, spiritual, emotional, social, intellectual, and your occupational wellness. Infectious disease. These are disorders caused by organisms such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, or parasites. Many organisms live in and on around our bodies. Normally, they are harmless and even helpful, but under certain situations and conditions, some organisms may cause disease. Some infectious diseases can be passed from person to person. Some are transmitted by insects or other animals. You may get other diseases by consuming contaminated water or food or being exposed to organisms in the environment. Signs and symptoms vary depending on the organism causing that infection, but often include fever and fatigue. Mild infections may respond to the rest and home remedies, while some life-threatening infections may need hospitalization. Many infectious diseases such as measles and chickenpox can be prevented by vaccines. Frequent and thorough hand washing also helps protect you from most infectious diseases. Lifestyle disease. A disease associated with the way a person or group of people live. Lifestyle disease includes atherosclerosis, or the buildup of plaque in the arteries, heart disease, and stroke, obesity and type 2 diabetes, and diseases associated with smoking and alcohol and drug abuse. Regular physical activity helps prevent obesity, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, colon cancer, and premature mortality. Responsibility. It's your responsibility. The concept of personal responsibility in healthcare is that if we follow healthy lifestyles by exercising and maintaining a healthy weight, not smoking, eating a healthy diet, and are good patients by keeping our appointments and listening to our physician's advice, we will be rewarded by feeling better and spending less money. Choice and control. Life can be very stressful, especially when we focus on things over which we have little or no control. But we do have control over several things in life, and when we utilize the power of personal choice and alter our perceptions, we can dramatically reduce our experiences on ongoing stress. Change. Old habits die hard. Changing your habits is a process that involves several stages. Sometimes it takes a while before changes become new habits. It includes discipline, and you may be forced, you may face roadblocks along the way. You'll face barriers that try to stop you. Adopting new, healthier habits may protect you from serious health problems like obesity and diabetes. New habits like healthy eating and regular physical activity may also help you manage your weight and have more energy available for you. After a while, if you stick with these changes, they may become part of your daily routine. Okay, this ends the lecture for today. We talked a lot about why we do things, how we do things, and the reasons we make choices that we do, some theories. As always, if you have any questions, please email me, and I will help answer those questions. Thank you and good night.